Okay, so today we're diving into the top 5 footballers who started life as refugees. And honestly, when you stop and think about it, it's kind of wild. I mean, these aren't just players who rose through the ranks. They actually had to survive wars, displacement, really intense stuff as kids before they even touched a professional pitch. And then somehow, boom, they're scoring goals, lifting trophies, making headlines. Some of them you've definitely heard of, like super famous names, and others, well, maybe not so obvious, but their stories are honestly inspiring. It's not just about talent, it's about resilience, determination, and basically refusing to let their circumstances define them. So we're talking war zones, refugee camps, moving countries, starting over from scratch, and still somehow making it to the top of world football. And the thing is, each one has a different story, a different path, and a different kind of grind, and I'm pretty sure you're going to be surprised by some of the journeys. Anyway, before I forget anyone, let's jump in and start counting down. Alright, so kicking this list off with Mario Mandzukic. Now his story starts during the Yugoslav wars, which was a pretty brutal time. His family actually had to flee Croatia when he was a kid, ended up in Germany, and that's basically where he grew up playing football. And you think about it, going from being displaced like that to later scoring in a Champions League final, even a World Cup final, that's crazy. He wasn't the flashiest striker, right? Like, you wouldn't call him silky or smooth on the ball, but he was just relentless, pressing defenders, winning headers, doing the dirty work nobody wanted to do, and then out of nowhere, boom, he scores an overhead kick against Real Madrid in the Champions League final. Like, seriously, that's the kind of moment kids dream of. So Mandzukic's journey is basically about turning toughness into a career, from being forced out of his home as a child to becoming one of the most reliable and hard-working forwards of his generation. Proper warrior mentality. Alright, so next up we've got Alphonso Davies, and his story is honestly kind of incredible. He was born in a refugee camp in Ghana after his parents fled the civil war in Liberia. Like, imagine that, growing up in a place where, football is probably the last thing on anyone's mind. And then when he was 5, his family finally made it to Canada, started fresh, completely new life. And that's where the football part really kicks in. He went from playing in local leagues to signing with the Vancouver Whitecaps at just 15 years old, which is insane. And then within a few years, Bayern Munich come calling. Bayern, one of the biggest clubs in the world. And he doesn't just show up there, he explodes, wins the Champions League, becomes one of the fastest and most exciting left-backs in football. You watch him sprint down the wing, beating players like it's nothing, and it's easy to forget, where that journey actually started. So Davies went from a refugee camp in Ghana to Canada to lifting the Champions League with Bayern Munich. That's not just a football story, that's proof of what resilience and opportunity can do. Right, so Miralem Pjanic, his story's a little less talked about, but it's pretty powerful. He was just a kid when the Bosnian War broke out and his family had to flee. They ended up in Luxembourg, which, let's be honest, you don't exactly think of as a football hotbed, but that's where he basically rebuilt his life and started playing the game seriously. And from there, it's like step by step, he just kept climbing. First Metz in France, then Lyon, then Roma, where he really started to get noticed as this technically gifted midfielder. Set piece specialist, amazing vision, calm on the ball. Then, of course, Juventus come calling, and he becomes part of that dominant midfield, winning league titles year after year. And eventually, he even makes the move to Barcelona. I mean, from a kid forced to leave home during a war to pulling the strings at some of Europe's biggest clubs, that's some journey. Pjanic might not be the loudest name on this list, but his career is built on resilience, intelligence, and just quietly being world-class in midfield. Alright, so moving on to Edin Dzeko. Now, his childhood was tough, to say the least. He grew up in Sarajevo during the Bosnian War, and the city was literally under siege. Imagine trying to be a kid, play football, when all of that is happening around you. It's unreal that he even made it out, let alone became a professional. But he did. And not just any professional. He goes from playing in Bosnia to tearing it up in Germany with Wolfsburg. And that's where he really exploded, winning the Bundesliga, scoring goals for fun, proving he could do it at the highest level. Then comes the Premier League, Manchester City, part of that team that started turning City into a powerhouse. He scored some huge goals too, proper clutch moments. And after that, Roma, Inter Milan again, just delivering season after season. Even now, well into his 30s, still banging them in. So from surviving a war-torn childhood to becoming one of Europe's most consistent strikers, Dzeko's story is basically about persistence, resilience, and just never losing that hunger for goals. The Bosnian Diamond nickname? Honestly well deserved. All right, finally, Luka Modric, and wow, where do you even start? His childhood was basically shaped by the Croatian War of Independence. His family got displaced, lived in refugee hotels for a while, and yeah, it was rough. Like, most kids are worrying about school and friends, and he was, well, surviving a war. But somehow he finds football, and not just as a hobby. He really commits, really grinds, starts making a name for himself in Croatia, then Tottenham in the Premier League, and eventually Real Madrid. And from there, the rest is history. Champions League titles stacking up, Ballon d'Or winner, World Cup final with Croatia, basically the heartbeat of every team he's been on. What's crazy is how he went from all that hardship to becoming arguably one of the best midfielders of his generation. Vision, technique, stamina, he just does it all, quietly dominating games without the drama. I mean, watching him control the midfield is, it's something else. So, Modric's story is the ultimate example of resilience. War-torn childhood to football royalty. Honestly, kind of the perfect way to end this list. So that's the list. 5 players who literally went from war zones, refugee camps, and starting over from scratch to lifting trophies, scoring incredible goals, and making history in world football. Honestly, when you think about it, it really puts the game into perspective. It's not just talent, it's resilience, determination, and refusing to let life's worst situations define you. And that's kind of inspiring, right? Makes you appreciate the game a little more and the journeys behind the names we see on the pitch. Anyway, those are the stories from Manzuk to Modric, from struggle to glory. These guys prove what's possible when you don't give up. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload from us. And that's it from us until next time. It's been your favourite football guru ranking reporter signing out.